It happened fast, too fast. Two police officers shouted commands as they pulled a tall man from his parked vehicle on the side of a busy street. People on the sidewalk froze, unsure of what they were witnessing. Some pulled out phones, others simply stared. The man, calm and quiet, said nothing as he was forced to the ground. One officer dug a knee into his back, while the other cuffed his wrists tightly behind him. "Stay down!" they barked. No questions, no explanation, just immediate judgment. Confusion filled the air. Who was he? Why was he being treated like a threat? What the officers didn't know, what no one in that crowd knew, was that the man on the ground wasn't just any civilian. He was a Navy SEAL sniper, a war hero, decorated, respected. He had served his country with honor, only to be humiliated on home soil. And someone important was already on their way. Someone with stars on their shoulders. Before we continue, drop a comment below and tell us where you're watching from. And don't forget to hit subscribe for more real-life stories that make you think, feel, and reflect. Now, let's rewind to see how this all began. His name was Daniel West. For 17 years, he had served as a Navy SEAL sniper, completing missions in some of the most dangerous places on Earth. Quiet, precise, loyal. He had saved lives, led teams, and earned medals he never talked about. But after retiring, Daniel returned home to rebuild a simple, peaceful life. No interviews, no spotlight, just time with family, morning walks, and visits to the VA hospital. He never expected praise. He didn't need it. He believed that true service didn't require recognition. He walked among civilians like any other man, hoodie on, baseball cap low, and a calm strength in every step. If you passed him on the street, you'd never guess what he'd done, or how many lives his quiet courage had changed. That morning was like any other. Daniel stopped at a local bakery before heading to visit his younger brother, also a veteran, who worked at a nearby veterans center. He wore dark jeans, a plain hoodie, and carried his military-issued backpack. Inside were some documents and a folded uniform, nothing unusual for him. As he waited in his parked car, checking his phone, two police cruisers sped up beside him. The officers jumped out, hands on holsters. A recent robbery had been reported in the area, and the suspect? Tall black male, hoodie, dark backpack. That was all it took. Daniel tried to speak, but their minds were made up. "Step out of the car," one shouted. The other reached for cuffs. They didn't even ask his name. Daniel stepped out, hands raised, his voice steady. "I think there's been a mistake." But they didn't hear him, or didn't want to. One officer slammed him against the hood, while the other snapped the cuffs tight around his wrists. His military ID slipped from his jacket pocket and hit the ground, unnoticed. A silver chain with his dog tags glinted under his collar, but neither officer looked. People across the street began filming. Some whispered. Most stayed silent. One teenager laughed. "Told you not to run," one officer muttered, as if guilt had already been proven. The weight of humiliation hit harder than the steel biting into his wrists. Daniel didn't resist. He had been trained for chaos, but never expected to face this kind on his own soil. Nearby, a young woman working in a café across the street noticed something wasn't right. She watched as the man stayed calm, despite being manhandled. She overheard him mention a military base and quietly pulled out her phone. With trembling fingers, she called her brother, who worked at the naval station nearby. "There's a man being arrested out here," she whispered urgently. "He says he's military. Please come check." She didn't know what would happen next, but she hoped someone with authority would intervene before things got worse. Minutes later, a black SUV pulled up quietly behind the patrol cars. The door opened, and out stepped a man in full dress uniform, his shoulders heavy with 4 shining stars. General Marcus Hayes, one of the highest-ranking officers in the Navy, moved with calm authority. As he walked toward the scene, silence fell. Even the officers stiffened, their earlier confidence replaced by unease. The crowd held its breath. Phones stopped recording. The general's gaze swept across the group, landing on the handcuffed man on the pavement. No words yet, only the weight of his presence. Finally, General Hayes spoke in a low but commanding voice. "Uncuff that man. Now." The officers hesitated, but obeyed immediately. The general looked the man in the eyes. "Daniel West, I'm deeply sorry for this treatment. You served with honor and deserve respect. Always." He then turned to the officers, voice sharp. "You failed to recognize a decorated war hero. This ends here." The apology echoed through the stunned crowd, silencing whispers and changing the mood in an instant. General Hayes stepped forward and gave Daniel a crisp salute, his eyes filled with respect. "This," he said, addressing both the officers and the crowd, "is why assumptions are dangerous. You judged this man by his appearance, not by who he truly is. Accountability begins with each of us. We owe him, and every veteran, our honor and fairness." The crowd was silent. Some people wiped tears from their eyes. One elderly woman quietly whispered, "I'm so sorry." The moment was heavy with realization. Within hours, videos of the incident flooded social media. Viewers across the country were shocked, not only by the wrongful arrest, but by the general's powerful act of apology and respect. Daniel never wanted the attention. He wanted to live quietly. But his story became a symbol, a reminder that heroes can be misunderstood and mistreated. People began to talk about prejudice and the urgent need to see beyond skin color or clothing. This story challenges us all. It reminds us that prejudice still exists, even against those who gave everything for their country. Respect and dignity aren't earned, they're owed. Change begins with how we treat each other every day. Let this moment inspire us to be better, to listen more, and to judge less. Because even the strongest heroes can be broken by misunderstanding, and it's up to us to build a fairer world. If this story moved you, please like, share, and comment below. Remember, never judge someone by their appearance.